I'm excited to share with you this hidden gem we found. The story is called The Twin Siblings' New Life. If you guys love this, please like and subscribe. This is a tale about siblings who got reincarnated together as imperial children. Their lives, however, were hardly glamorous and likely caused them trauma. Stay with me as I tell you what happened to them. A high school twin died and was reborn as the Emperor's twin children, given the names Arjen and Arienne. Arienne is the Empire's lone princess, and Arjen is the fourth prince. Yet they have the consciousness of adults inside their child bodies. And today is their 5th birthday. But instead of celebrating, their mother, Ruahel, greets them with anger. Thanks to their ability to mentally communicate, they can somehow avoid some of the abuse. But not today. Ever since the Emperor abandoned them, Ruahel has become a drunken monster who regularly beats her children. Today, she becomes hysterical, throws a vase at the twins, and physically abuses them, yet they put up with it. Once Ruahel leaves, Arienne heals her bleeding cheeks, and they comfort each other. Other than telepathy, fast healing is one of the Imperial abilities they inherited. Later, they gaze out at the city, wondering if they will ever be able to escape their current situation. From what they know, Ruahel was a commoner, both intelligent and beautiful, and 6 years ago, the Emperor favored her for a night, and as a result, they were born. They might be of royal blood, but they are never treated as such. Their father has no interest in them, and even the maids mistreat them. Arjen notices something, and they both flinch when they see a man with a bloodlust expression on his face. However, this suddenly changes, and the man begins being friendly to them, which surprises them, but the twins remain alert. Since the man doesn't appear to be dangerous, they answer his request for their identities. Since it's cold, he gives his coat to the twin, looking worried, then leaves. They are now back in their room when suddenly they hear their mother screaming. They are outside in the garden when they watch their mother, wasted more than usual, loses her balance and falls to the ground, killing herself on a sharp branch of a tree. Arienne quickly covers Arjen's eyes to save him from seeing all this. One night has gone by, yet their mother's body remains untouched in the garden, and the twins, particularly Arienne, has been unable to sleep. When they see Imperial Knights marching by and ignoring Ruahel's corpse, they get suspicious and hide. The Knights enter their house and start looking for them. The twins get terrified when they discover that they are their target and so plan to hide in the woods, as they are certain that the Knights are likely there to kill them now that Ruahel is gone, and since they are considered a disgrace to the Empire. They finally get out of the castle and run, but to their surprise, the search party has already reached the forest. Lack of sleep and exhaustion are already taking a toll on Arienne's body, and she's starting to lose consciousness, which worries Arjen. The Knights notice Arjen's voice, but when they get caught, the Knights surprisingly express worry for them. The Emperor then makes an appearance and gives commands to the Knights, while Arienne faints at the sight of him. When Arienne wakes up, she scans how sparkly their room is and notices Arjen looking tired. He couldn't sleep, scared that the Emperor might do something to them, so he tried to keep Arienne safe while she slept. Now, Arienne realizes that they are currently in the palace. The twins remain unsure what's happening when Ishina, the head maid, and the other maids come into their room and announce that they will be serving them. The maids grab the twins, assisting them in bathing, when they quickly notice their arms full of scars. They begin making derogatory comments about them, but are quickly silenced by Ishina's discipline. She then informs the twins that they will be treated as royal children and given a proper education. Arienne is baffled by Ishina's advice that they should adapt fast to show gratitude to the Emperor for his generosity. With all the kindness the Emperor is suddenly showing, she wonders where he's been all these years and why he's doing it now. After that, Ishina tells the maids to get the twins ready as they will be having a meal with the Emperor himself. While she waits for Arjen to change clothes, Arienne can't help but wonder what the Emperor is up to now that he's acting like nothing happened after abandoning them for 5 years. She can only remember him holding them when they were born, and the thought of them sharing a meal today makes her uncomfortable. When the two are ready, the butler and maids take them to the Imperial table, where they will meet the Emperor. They appear alarmed upon arrival, and the moment the butler opens the door, they brace themselves for danger. They greet the Emperor, but refuse to heed his invitation to sit. Their seats are far apart, and since the Emperor notices that they want to stay together, as evident by Arjen holding Arienne, he orders the chairs to be moved so they can sit next to each other. Arienne finds it difficult to eat with the Emperor, whereas Arjen eats like a robot. Chew, swallow, and repeat. The Emperor, however, notices the scars on Arjen's arms and inquires as to their cause. Arjen then quickly covers it, and Arienne tries to shield her brother from him. I adore how they look out for one another. Arienne glares at the Emperor as if he doesn't know they're suffering. When the Emperor asks if Ruahel did that to them, they get scared because of his imposing presence. Arienne interrupts Arjen while he's trying to explain, telling the Emperor to stop staring at their scars. She's afraid that the Emperor, of all people, will discover their hidden pain through their scarred bodies. And as a result of her pent-up feelings, she yells at him, shocking everyone. While shaking and panting, she tries to continue, but she faints. After seeing this, the Emperor wonders if his decision of abandoning his twins were correct. They are his illegitimate children and the Emperor's weakness. He couldn't kill them when he saw their golden hair, so he chose to hide their existence. Arienne wakes up in their chamber crying, while Arjen scolds her for what she did while still hugging her and telling her it's not safe to do something like that again. She can't believe that they are still alive after defying the Emperor, and what makes it even weirder is that she remembers the Emperor carrying her. The following day, they are awaiting their punishment, but nothing happens. They are relieved when one of the maids proposes going to the garden. When they arrive, they can't believe how beautiful it is compared to their home. And because the maids are watching them, they try to act like their age by playing with flowers. A young man approaches them, and they recognize him as the noble they met before. But now he has golden hair. The man introduces himself as the second prince and starts playing with them. Arjen uses telepathy and tells Arienne that he recalls that the second prince is only 10 years old. Although they are stunned by the fact that he appears to be an adult, their thoughts are interrupted when the second prince begins insisting that they refer to him as Alex. He then asks for their nicknames as well, but they don't have any. Well, he doesn't think that they need one because their names are pretty enough as they are. And he also reveals that they are the only ones in the family to have been named by their father. The remarks did not help them feel better, rather made them angry how lightly they talked about family. Arienne injures her hand from over-squeezing the flowers, and Alex attempts to treat it when he notices all of the scars on her arm. He grabs her, and like their father, begins to question her. Arjen shakingly tells him they are sorry, the same chant they repeatedly have to say to Ruahel every time she hits them. He lets go of Arienne and apologizes, stating that he is merely concerned since it could have been a poisonous insect and they are not pure blood, which means their healing power isn't as strong. The twins get curious and ask about pure blood. Basically, they are a family blessed with incredible magic and golden hair. Alex then explains that since they are illegitimate children, they will not have a manifestation. To explain, from a very young age, a member of the imperial family will undergo manifestation, and their body will resemble that of an 18-year-old. And after they reach the age of 19, their bodies will begin to develop again, and most surprisingly, they will cease aging at the age of 30. This is why Alex looks like an adult while being only 10 years old. But because they are half-blood, they will probably have to grow like a normal human. Arienne agrees to have him heal her and reveals how they got them. Alex admits that he knew about their existence, but did not bother to approach them before, since he assumed they manifested and weren't mistreated. He warmly welcomes them to the family and gives them unknown light magic. Two royal knights pick them up and carry them as they are about to go back to their rooms. Ishina assures them that being carried is very common for young nobles, and in fact, will be quicker for them because of their slower growth. She then gives them a heads up that she will be starting to take care of their education and necessities. They have everything they could want, from expensive clothing and tasty treats to expensive things for their room, and lengthy hours of learning. They have no idea how many subjects they are studying, and their hands are already trembling from all of the writing. Not only that, but they must also learn to act like a royal, speak like a royal, and think like a royal. The twins are going crazy. Ugh, can anyone help them? Other than having golden hair, the twins are just like any other 5-year-old. They are now taking a break and relaxing in bed, and the weather tempts them to go outside, but they can't since the servants will follow them everywhere, which will be very annoying. However, upon checking near the door, all the servants are gone. They then freely go outside, running and rolling around. Since then, the forest has been their friend, so they look very happy to finally lay in the grass. They remember how they always ran away from Ruahel, and so the forest became their safe haven where they could relax and forage for food. After a while of relaxing, they decide to climb a tree nearby. Arienne is the first to hurry and climb, but she slips due to her uncomfortable shoes. Just as she is about to fall, a guy with red hair appears and catches her. They have no idea who the guy is, but to their surprise, he knows their names and tells them he is glad to finally meet them. The servants burst in just then to say that they've been searching for them everywhere since they suddenly disappeared from their room. But since the two went out knowing there were no servants there, this makes no sense to them. As the servants are talking, they look back and see that the mystery man has already left. Back in their room, Arienne wonders how the red-haired man knows their names and acts like he's been waiting for them, while Arjen suggests going back to the place where they met the man. They look around the corridors and see no servants, so they make a break for it. As they stroll, they overhear nobles and decide to take cover under a tree. They then overhear them complaining about them and saying that the fact that they aren't born of pure blood brings shame on the Empire. Arienne trembles as they continue to speak negatively of them, echoing Ruahel's harsh words. Suddenly, the Crown Prince caught their conversation, and without hesitation, he punishes them for defaming the Imperial family name. As the guards lead the nobles away, the Crown Prince notices the twins behind the tree and asks if they are okay. Arjen speaks out to Arienne's surprise. He is angry for hearing such cruel words just because they are illegitimate children. And he tells him they never wish to be part of the Imperial family, and how being born is like a mistake. They worry they made a mistake after seeing the Crown Prince's expression change at this information. Arjen grabs Arienne and runs away from the Crown Prince. Thankfully, the Crown Prince did not follow them back to their room, and Arjen apologizes for putting them in danger. Ishina arrives and finds out that the two went out since they look all dirty. They have vanished while the servants were watching their chamber twice already. And this time, Arienne tells Ishina that there were no servants present when they left. Ishina thinks the two are hiding something, but shrugs it off and tells them to prepare for their lessons. The two anticipate being punished when the Crown Prince unexpectedly appears. When the prince gives Arienne her shawl, she expects him to hit her, but instead, he pats both her and Arjen on the head. Aw, so cute! The Crown Prince then orders Ishina to give him their timetable, which he finds upsetting after reading it. Big bro! While the Crown Prince is lecturing Ishina for making them do an excessive amount of studying, he uses a magical barrier to protect the twins from any further criticism. He commands her to cut back on their studies, but Ishina declines since it was the Emperor who put her in charge and she can only follow His Majesty's orders. The prince has no say, so he leaves. While the twins are eating, Ishina keeps on lecturing them on etiquette and explains the 3 qualifications for being a member of the Imperial family, which are lineage, manifestation, and guardian. They both become interested in what a guardian is, and Ishina explains that they are animal-like beings who are born alongside an Imperial member. They look out for their master and never get hurt until their master dies. They also found out that the Majesty has a green serpent, the Crown Prince has a black leopard, a white wolf for the second, and the third a green hawk. Arjen envies them because he wants someone to trust and protect him the way they always seem to have someone on their side. They have met everyone in the Imperial family except for the third prince. Arienne is curious about him, and Arjen thinks he must have the same calming aura as the rest of the family. They then get startled by Ishina's announcement that the Emperor wants to meet them. And when they enter the room, the Emperor promptly warns Ishina about her teaching style and becomes furious when he hears the twins addressing her formally. She flinches, and the Emperor reminds her to treat them like the rest of the Imperial family, and to fix her behavior since there will be no second chances. While they are drinking tea, the Emperor discusses sending Eiji to the twins, which piques their interest but doesn't have the nerve to ask. Later, when they ask Kushina, she tells them that Eiji is the third prince and that he is known as the Emperor's mad dog due to his tough personality. The description only makes them more frightened. Now, they think Eiji is sent by the Emperor to make them suffer. The third prince then sends word that he would like to have them visit his palace. The maids drop them off in front of the third prince's palace, where they encounter some other noble children. They walk up to the twins and start harassing them with the same insults they are hearing in the kingdom. Just as the twins are about to leave, the third prince stomps the bully to the ground. Another big bro to the rescue. He lifts the child up and gazes adoringly at the twins. A bit violent, but let's go! When the children's attendants arrive, the third prince is enraged when they only greet him and not the twins. He tosses the bully to them and warns them to never go near the twins again. Then makes a "I did well" face at the twins. He looks like a villain, but sparkles when talking to his siblings. The duality! After the children leave, he tells the twins that he actually practices how to say their names correctly, which makes them very confused. Eiji takes them on a tour of his palace and asks them not to address him formally, instead call him Big Brother. When their snacks arrive, Eiji wants to feed Arienne and asks to be called Big Brother. They didn't expect the mad dog to act like this, so they think that if they don't do what he says, he might become violent toward them as well. Arienne tries her best to act cute, much to the delight of the third prince. Arjen, of course, gets a taste of the pudding as well while acting cute. The pudding is so good that they don't have regrets. After they eat, they get on a horse, and Arienne forgets and talks to Eiji happily, which makes him very happy. He then shares that he plans to give them a ride on his guardian, the hawk, when they are bigger. Given the discussion about guardians, Arjen uses telepathy to express his hope that both of them will be able to trust someone one day. Arjen may be calmer than Arienne, but he is deeper than we think. The twins feel relieved when Eiji waves goodbye. As they are walking back to their room, Arienne informs Arjen that something is off because Ishina isn't there to welcome them home. Instead, they are asked to go to the tea room. When they peek inside their room, they see the Emperor's furious face and Ishina on her knees in front of him while everything is a mess. Ishina tearfully accepts the Emperor's punishment for her failure to ensure the twins' safety and tells her something serious could have happened if the children had not left. It looks like something happened while they were gone. Assassination attempt, maybe? He notices the twins, so he returns his sword and asks Ishina to gather all the servants to prepare the twins' stuff. The twins breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that he will not kill her. They are both communicating mentally as the Emperor calls them and informs them that they are moving to another place. A place only the Emperor can use, and that place is his room. They were both shocked and speechless. Entering the Emperor's room, they both feel awkward about their new setup. And if they could only ask Ishina about what's happening, they could definitely get some answers since she's the only person who is not a bully and tells them all the necessary information. Even though the room is spacious and all the servants try to make them comfortable, they still feel restless, and the tension gets worse when the Emperor enters. They look at each other, and Arienne asks him what he wants from them. He just tells them that after what happened, he cannot let them go back to their room, and they will stay in his room because it is the safest place in the palace. Just then, Arjen falls down and feels uneasy. This is his natural response to extreme stress. While Arienne tries to comfort him, the Emperor orders one of the servants to take the prince for a warm bath to make him calm down. But at first he refuses until Arienne assures him that she will be waiting for him. The Emperor makes Arienne uneasy, especially when he calls her by her full name. He instructs her not to call him formally and asks when she will grow. She says she is eating well and will grow soon. After bathing, they feel sleepy and pleased that Arjen is better. When the Emperor tells the servants to leave the room, the twins panic and want to go out with them. Using his powers, he transfers the twins to his bed, turns off the lights, and instructs them to sleep. As they sleep, the Emperor watches them, recalls the incident earlier, and feels that the twins are afraid of him. Despite being royal, they are so tiny that the bed looks big to him. Their tiny bodies and hearts are full of scars, and they only rely on each other, leaving the Emperor at a loss for how to treat them. Jason appears and rants about why he acts all worried now, after all those years when he never protected them. He points out to the Emperor that the scars on the twins' bodies will be permanent evidence that he failed to protect them. He even mentions how he uses the contract with Ruahel as an excuse. The Emperor cannot believe that the twins' guardian is such a wolf. And while caressing Arienne's hair, Jason says he is only a kind and affectionate red wolf to his masters and whispers to them that he is late, but not anymore. Arienne panics when she wakes up in a new room with all the maids waiting for them. While the servants change them, she looks at the clock and is amazed that they slept till 2 p.m. She thinks that if Ashina is there, she will wake them up early so they have time before the day starts. While they are having breakfast, Arienne asks Arjen if he is feeling better, and he admits that he has not completely recovered yet, but reassures her that he'll be fine. This makes her worry even more. After breakfast, the Emperor sent some presents and more toys for them to play with since they are not allowed to go out without his permission. After completing the puzzle game, drinks are served, and again she thinks of the difference if Ashina was there and wonders what happened to her. When they inform the servants that they will stop playing, their faces all brighten, and they tell them that they will bring them to the Emperor. They are surprised to see the Emperor together with the 3 princes and notices the knights with their horses in line. The Emperor tells them to come closer, and they are even more surprised when he says they can choose which horses they like. They can even hear Aegis fretting while the Crown Prince worries that it may be too dangerous for them and exaggerates how it can cause their hearts to go into shock and kill them. I want brothers like them. The twins can only stare at them and watch the scene in silence. To add to the comedy, the Emperor even acknowledges that their small size makes them vulnerable and starts discussing it with the Crown Prince. Meanwhile, the second prince just smiles and enjoys all of this. When the Crown Prince mentions the head maid, Arienne interrupts and tells them they want to see Ashina. They will need her since she is honest with them, and to their surprise, the Emperor agrees to their request. The Emperor is delighted that they are asking him for something for the first time. After a while, Arjen collapses while they are talking, making everyone panic. Aegis grabs him while calling for a doctor. His head feels like it's about to split up, while Arienne is anxious and blames herself for what's happening, until suddenly, she feels the same and falls down as well. Feeling scared, she doesn't know what is happening to them. When Arienne awakes, she finds herself back in the Emperor's bedroom. She looks in the mirror and is surprised to see that her hair is longer. She's grown a little taller, and her scars have disappeared. And Arjen experiences the same changes as well. The Emperor and Ashina walk into the room and talk about how a week has passed since the twins woke up. And without providing any clarification, the Emperor instructs Ashina to tidy them up before leaving. While the servants are cutting their hair, Ashina congratulates the twins and explains they underwent manifestation, making the two confused since there are barely any changes in them. This is because they are only half-blood. They manifested imperfectly. After they change, Ashina then asks why they want her despite her stern nature. The twins explain that they value her honesty over her affection, and that they need her to teach them about the imperial family. This is not something Ashina expects to hear from them, and so she gladly accepts their orders. Now that they are in the hall, the two see the Emperor talking to Count Clone. He appears to be complaining about something, but the Emperor's menacing gaze causes the noble to flee in fear. The Emperor then greets the two warmly and proceeds to the imperial table where the 3 princes are waiting. Each prince congratulates the two for their manifestation, and then the Emperor begins discussing their social debut in order to officially recognize them as members of the imperial family. While the princes agree, the two did not because none of the nobles they've met have ever accepted them. Arjen speaks up and expresses how they don't want to meet anyone since the people in the kingdom are frightening and they don't like crowded places. They are surprised when the Emperor agrees and postpones the party. Arienne couldn't help but wonder if he was being real about his concern for them. Meanwhile, Count Clone is having a conversation with a mystery guy about the Emperor's plans to introduce the twins to the public. Villains alert! The next day, the maid informs them that the Emperor has given them permission to freely walk 3 to 4 hours a day with a few servants to escort them. This confuses them again. It appears that the Emperor has given regard to what they said yesterday and is now being considerate. but this does not imply that they have forgiven them. They come across the head of the Rosier Ducal family and his son as they stroll, and they greet the twins formally. This is the first time they encounter a noble who treats them with respect. However, that seems far from the truth. When the twins walk away, the Duke stares at them from afar and removes his gloves, calling them filthy. While the twins continue walking, a mysterious guy watches them from a tree and casts black magic on them. Arienne notices the black magic and knows that if they are struck by it, they will die instantly. It hit them, but thankfully, the light magic the second prince gave them served as a shield, protecting them from the blow. The knights quickly search the surroundings, while Ishina explains to the twins that the attack is likely a bloodthirst, a magic that harnesses power from curses, and their target must be the twins. They are now back in their room, when suddenly the Emperor enters and quickly checks on them. Even the three princes rush in to make sure that they are all right and decide to kill the assailant. The second prince casts stronger protection magic on the twins, straining his body. They all make promises to look after the twins, leaving the two puzzled again, since these actions are so new to them that they don't know what to believe anymore. They feel warm, as if they're really part of the family. Dear, you two are! Somewhere, Count Clone complains about the unsuccessful attack, but the mysterious guy explains that their target is the second prince, as he is quick-witted and will be a nuisance in the future. He anticipates the prince's exhaustion from casting a spell of protection over the twins, and they intend to lure the imperial family into traps by making them believe the twins' flaws will bring them down. Even after the incident, the twins are eager to learn, so they start their first magic class. Upon entering, Baron Chembo discovers the second prince's white mana surrounding them. It is a defensive magic that can rival anyone on the continent. He then teaches them about magic recall and uses them and the second prince as examples. To explain, since the prince transfers a huge amount of mana to them, he can also send it back to himself if he wants to. The teacher then notices that Arienne possesses a massive amount of mana, while Arjen only has half of it. This didn't bother Arjen, as he wants to be a swordsman. They've just finished class and are munching on snacks when the third prince barges in, offering them a bunny he stole from someone else. The twins politely decline, though, and wish for its return. Arienne asks if there are any clues about the attacker, but even the crown prince hasn't found anything. Then Eiji asks if they'd like to meet the second prince and ask him, which they happily accept. As they walk, Jason keeps an eye on them and is happy to see their smiles. Arienne assumes the second prince's condition is related to his spell and asks whether he is sick. He attempts to grin and tells them he is tired but happy to see them. As they are going to have tea together, one of the knights runs up to Eiji and gives him a message to return to his palace immediately. The twins believe it is important because he leaves quickly, while Alex understands what's up. To change the mood, the second prince asks them to have tea with him, but he cannot endure what he feels, so he just tells them to play on their own and orders the knights to escort them. The twins can see that he is not in good shape, but they want answers to their questions, so they trick the maids so that they can enter the room of the second prince. Inside the room, they hear an unfamiliar voice. He introduces himself as the second prince's guardian. Amazed by what they see, Noe informs them that the second prince needs to rest to recuperate from the spell he cast on them. The knights bring them home and find a guest waiting. In an underground prison, Eiji is frustrated as he cannot get valuable information from the suspect. His guardian explains that the man is a grimoire merchant, and he caught him at the back gate of Count Clone. He then adds that the man has been spotted selling illegal grimoires to the Count for the past month. His guardian calms him down and tells him to investigate further. After all, hunting is their specialty. Meanwhile, the so-called brain is now in front of the twins, asking them to be their friend. Really? The Emperor introduces the guest and says he would be a good friend. Still astonished by it, the twins think the Emperor actually listened to Arjen when he said that nobility scared him and is now attempting to address the problem by having a friend their age. Arienne almost says thank you out loud. Inside the playroom, the three read a book, and as they go through the pages, they see a picture of the Empress, who looks like the second prince. Arienne imagines the Empress and the Emperor as a perfect married couple. But then she also wonders why he chose Ruahel. As Arienne thinks of the past, she feels everything doesn't make sense and asks their playmate if he can tell them more about the Emperor and the Empress. During breakfast, the Crown Prince and Eiji argue over what they should do during their break time, but the twins decline as they have already agreed to see young Master Rosea. On their way to the playroom, they think about why the Emperor took them and need more information to decide whether to trust him. They tell the servants to wait outside since they will be talking privately. And so they learn that the Emperor is the only ruler without a guardian since he transferred it to the Empress, who died with the guardian within her. Arienne is amazed by the act of love shown by the Emperor to the Empress. The young Rosea then tells them that this is the reason why everyone is shocked by their existence since no one expected the Emperor to find new love through their mother. Arienne asks if the book mentions their mother, but to their dismay, not a single word is written about them. Their high expectations have left them feeling hurt once again, and so they decide to end their conversation. Arienne runs outside holding Arjen's hand, furious that they almost believe they can trust them and start anew. They end up lying on the ground contemplating their situation when out of nowhere, Jason appears. As more Imperial guards appear in the city, some nobles cannot contain their criticism towards the Imperial family. Jason is trying to get the twins to open up to him, but they both feel uneasy about how comfortable they seem around him. But Arjen begins to tell him what he really thinks about the Emperor, and Arienne attempts to stop him when Jason joins in. She can't believe how well he knows them. Jason explains that he hopes they will not hate the Emperor because he might have his own reasons. As Ashina and the guards approach, he vanishes, leaving Arienne to reflect on everything that has happened since the mystery man first appeared. She finds it amusing that he talks about the Emperor and appears out of nowhere. Jason fears he won't be able to stay much longer if the twins continue to seal off their hearts, leading him to disappear, and he thinks the Emperor is to blame. The Emperor and the Crown Prince are discussing how they can protect the twins from any opposing nobles. The prince mentions that it is his duty to protect his siblings, and it seems like the other princes feel the same too. The Emperor then asks if he blames him for having children with another woman, but he swiftly responds that he does not because he knows the truth. The Emperor goes on to say that if his life wasn't in danger, he wouldn't have let Ruahel give birth to them and would have killed them before they were born. The twins are secretly listening to the prince's and the Emperor's conversation. They are so shocked by what they hear that their blood turns cold from their fingertips. They are clueless about what kind of contract he signed and why. Their thoughts keep going back to what was said, which makes them feel worse. The prince senses someone at the door, sees them, and invites them to have tea, but they turn him down coldly. When the prince returns to the room, he tells the Emperor that the twins don't look happy, and conclude that it must have something to do with Duke Rosea's son. Enraged, the Emperor checks on them and finds that both do not appear well, and as he is ready to touch Arienne, she avoids it and talks back bitterly. Duke Rosea panics upon knowing the Emperor and Crown Prince's presence in his residence. The Emperor directly tells him that there might be a problem between his son and the twins. Arienne is trying to convince Arjen to run away from the palace, but he refuses. His reaction confuses Arienne to the point where she yells at him, surprising all the maids. Arjen asks the maid to stand by the door so that they can talk and promises Sheena they will not disappear again. Arjen tells her that they won't be hurt or go hungry and can live comfortably if they stay. And he promises her that they can leave if they get bigger, which Arienne later realizes is true. But they cannot forgive the Emperor so easily after knowing he wanted them dead before they were even born. At Rosea Duchy, the Emperor asks the young Rosea to explain why the twins act strangely after playing. He informs them that he just answered their questions about the late Empress. The Emperor orders him to go into details, and the young noble shares that he believes the twins miss their old life and mother. They are upset that their mother was treated differently than the late Empress, and find out that no record has been written about them, which makes them resent the Emperor. Based on his assumptions, the Emperor decides to return them to their old room and explain that once Delorina Castle is done, they can move there, leaving them more confused. Did a kid just manage to manipulate an Emperor? Hand palm emoji! The twins now think they are being totally kicked out of the palace, returning them to the far more dangerous castle of Delorina. This is why communication is important. The Emperor's actions, including the restoration of their room and now rebuilding the Dellarina castle, seems like acts of charity for them. It's just that everything the Emperor does makes little sense. In the meantime, the Crown Prince confronts Count Clone, who confesses that he did, in fact, meet with Duke Rosea the day before. The Crown Prince is curious about the Count and the green-haired guy, since their presence on the Duke's property raises suspicions. He walks away without further explanation, making the Count nervous. Back in the twins' room, the second prince arrives, looking better than in the past days, and asks them for a walk. While out on a stroll, he realizes that the twins are unresponsive, so he asks them to tell him what's going on because they're family. But to his surprise, the twins disapprove of the term and inform him that they are being returned. The prince tries to explain, but the twins' hearts are too closed to understand. The family thing is all pretend to them, and when they ask him why they are not in the records and why they are abandoned, the only response they can come up with is that they are illegitimate children. The prince's guardian worries that Jason is in trouble since the twins' hearts are full of hatred. Alex initially met the twins because Jason, the fifth guardian, had revealed himself to him and asked to save the twins from the violence and hate they were experiencing. Since guardians draw their power from their master's joy, the twins' distress is weakening him. Back in the present, Count Clone visits the Duke Rosea dukedom and complains about the odd question asked by the Crown Prince earlier. However, the Duke is unconcerned since he doubts the Crown Prince saw Riolu, because he did not mention the strange man in the hood in his questions. This worries the Count since there is no guarantee the Duke will not abandon him, and he thinks he must try to find a way to survive on his own. Arienne asks Ishina why they still try to serve them when they are being kicked out, which surprises her. Ishina then explains that the Emperor never mentioned exiling them and assures them that every decision he makes is not to transpire them. She tries to tell them how precious they are, but Arjen lashes out, thinking it all does not make sense. Just then, Alex suddenly barges in and starts sharing the truth about why they were left behind. While in town, Eiji and his guardian are able to track down Count Clone. Gotcha! The twins were shocked to learn that Ruahel could kill the Emperor. The prince goes on to explain that 6 years ago, when the Emperor first met Ruahel, she claimed to have the power to heal. The Emperor put this to the test by slashing his hand, and Ruahel healed it by licking it. The Emperor was clueless that she had the power to curse blood. She can only use the power once, but when she drinks someone else's blood, she can control their life. He is unaware of the circumstances, but Ruahel left and took the twins to reside in the Dellarina castle. The twins discover that she threatens to kill them if any Imperial member tries to see them, and she continuously demands money until they lose contact. He even tries to check on them secretly, only to find out that the castle is in ruins. So they assume they are dead, which is why they never looked for them. Even after hearing this, the twins still can't trust the family, and their discussion gets cut off when Duke Rosea arrives. The third prince and his guardian begin interrogating Count Clone as to why he has been seeking a spell book shortly after his siblings arrive at the palace. This is something he cannot accomplish on his own, and so the prince demands to know who is the mastermind behind the scheme, or his life would be jeopardized. Duke Rosea is having tea with the twins, and he apologizes for how his son acts around them. He is gradually gaining the twins' trust, so he proceeds by mentioning their return to Dellarina Castle, and introducing them to a servant who is also an illegitimate child, which gets their attention. He then tells them that they can take him to the castle with them as a friend, with whom they can talk. This makes the twins happy because they've never had someone in the same situation as them. Ishina interrupts and informs the Duke that they cannot easily accept any servant. Instead, they have to hold an official interview and get the Emperor's approval. And the twins notice how the Duke's demeanor changes when Ishina speaks. Meanwhile, the Crown Prince describes that the suspicious man he saw had a scar on his face, and Eiji takes note of it. Then, Eiji reveals the confession they obtained from Count Clone and identifies Ishina as the mastermind. Both princes feel the initiator is not Ishina, and Eiji suggests questioning the Count further, but the Crown Prince objects because it is illegal to imprison the Count and asks him to release him. Kahlua then voices his suspicions to Duke Rosea, but the princes disregard this because the Duke has a good relationship with the family, especially their mother. and the Duke is distantly related. However, the Crown Prince tries to be cautious and instructs them to keep an eye on both Ashina and the Duke. The Duke and Ashina exchange a disapproving look, and when he leaves, Ashina advises the twins not to put too much trust in the Duke since he isn't as loyal to the Imperial family as he claims. Somewhere, the second Prince Guardian, Nue, finds and heals Jason, who is nearing his death. Healing him is the prince's request, and this is only temporary as long as the twins continue to resent their royal status. He will remain chained. Meanwhile, Count Clone has been released, though under the supervision of the third prince. Riolu then welcomes him home and calls him father. Nue goes back to the second prince and reports Jason's condition. Alex wishes to cast greater healing magic on Jason, but Nue reminds him that the Emperor and the twins must resolve this issue on their own, or his help will be useless, to which the prince agrees. The twins go to the Emperor the next day and request that they bring a servant of their choosing back to the Delorina castle, which the Emperor agrees to without issue. However, Ashina is internally conflicted since she believes the Duke is suspicious. But when she sees the twins happy, she can't help but throw her concerns away. When they leave the Emperor's room, Ashina and the twins talk, and they tell her they really like the servant. Since she can't stop them, Ashina plans to go to the castle with them to ensure their safety. Later, the Duke receives an imperial letter stating Riolu has been accepted and will start his training as the twins' servant. The Duke laughs at how easy it is to control the twins simply because Riolu and the twins are both illegitimate. But Riolu views his difficulties as far greater than the twins. Ruahel and the castle have been giving Arjen nightmares. Thankfully, Arienne is there to help him. As their return to the Delorina castle approaches, the traumas begin to surface. But Arienne believes they are stronger than before, especially since Riolu is coming with them. The twins welcome him, and instead of training him as a servant, they simply play with or eat with him. He even questions whether they are truly royals based on how they act, but Arienne explains that they are still not used to royal etiquette because they have been living in a castle where they were abused and usually hungry. In the meantime, the Crown Prince's suspicions are heightened after a knight reports that the Duke has been meeting with disreputable nobility who are opposed to the imperial family. Ieji is wary of the suspicious man Lloyd has described and plans to catch him. But for now, he visits his younger siblings, and to his surprise, he finds Riolu. When Ieji discovers the twins are playing with another guy, he quickly gives him a death glare, while Riolu becomes concerned that the prince has discovered his true identity. Looks like that's not the case here. Ieji is actually jealous that he can make his siblings laugh and notices his weird disguise. But Arienne is quick to tell him that they were the ones who put his makeup on, concealing Riolu's scar. Then Ieji learns that Riolus is the twins' new servant, so he begins to relax around him while informing the twins that he wants to see them, and Riolu excuses himself to wash his face. While walking, Ieji casually talks about their departure to Delorina Castle. Even though the twins don't want to leave, they think it's best not to see any royal faces, while Ieji cheerfully assures them that he will visit them regularly, and starts planning what to play with them. Innocently, he asks the twins to describe the Delorina Castle, and is taken aback by their response that it is the worst place to be, and excuses themselves, leaving him confused. Riolu waits for the twins to tell them he's leaving for their next schedule, and he notices their politeness to him. Arienne even touches his face to remove the stuck makeup on his face. As he is about to leave, he finds Duke Rosea and some noblemen, and they start to look down on him. Duke Rosea then hands him a letter to give Count Clone. Count Clone is summoned to the Duke's mansion but refuses to go, having been traumatized by the third prince. However, the letter threatens to cut off his head if he will not show up. So they leave quietly, unaware that Kahlua is watching them. Duke Rosea welcomes Count Clone and sees the Duke's son playing the violin in front of the guests, the same people Riolu saw earlier, as a disguise for their meeting, while Kahlua observes them from afar. After his son's performance, the Duke declares that refreshments will be served in another room, which leaves Kahlua to worry as he won't be able to investigate further, since the other room is windowless. Then, the Duke's son accidentally sees Kahlua outside their window, but pretends he didn't see anybody. Now that they have transferred to a different room, Duke Rosea acknowledges everyone and announces that the imperial family must end, since the illegitimate children prove their bloodline is impure. Riolu thinks his remarks are ridiculous, while the nobles ask for the Duke's plans. He urges them to only believe in him and that he will face all the dangers. He promises to handle everything, which earns him their trust. Oh, fools. Even Riolu wonders if all nobles are stupid and also notices young Rosea's strange reaction. Meanwhile, Kahlua informs Aiji of all the information he obtains, who is now furious and decides to see his brother, Lloyd. Duke Rosea is related to the Empress, so the Crown Prince can't believe that he is involved. Though unsure, Kahlua says that Count Clone will not visit the Duke Rosea at night for nothing, and all the nobles who have gathered are suspicious as well. All of these families haven't been on good terms with the imperial family for some time, but their hostility has only grown after the twins' arrival. As a sign of trust, Duke Rosea asks all the nobles to sign a contract to become anti-imperialists, but Count Clone suspects it will be used as evidence of their rebellious actions. He considers the consequences if they'll get caught by the third prince, while also being terrified of the Duke, so he eventually signs the contract. The twins and Riolu are having a picnic together when they notice his blank expression and worry if he is uncomfortable, and ask if they can help him, making Riolu blush and wonder why they're being so nice to him. The twins just really want to see him smile and to treat him as a friend because they're in the same situation. A child born out of wedlock has more painful memories than happy ones. Because in their time, being an illegitimate child is a curse. She tells him that they decided to survive the Imperial Palace and do things that make them happy, and encourages him to be happy too. My babies are growing too fast. Meanwhile, the prince arrested Duke Rosea on charges of conspiring treason. The Emperor and the Crown Prince visit Duke Rosea's prison cell to confirm if he is indeed a member of the group threatening his children, which he bluntly denies, but the evidence they have suggests the opposite. The Emperor asks him again, this time letting him answer in the name of the Empress. The atmosphere changes, and the Duke solemnly swears he is not a traitor, but he suddenly blames the Emperor for Ilona's misery. He mocks the Emperor, saying he is responsible for the Empress's death, while the Emperor remains silent, letting Lloyd handle the rest, then leaves. Count Clone causes a commotion by barging into the garden where the twins and Riolu are strolling. He desperately wants to talk to Riolu, who unintentionally calls him father, confusing the twins. Arienne allows the Count in, and he hurriedly calls Riolu without greeting the twins, which makes Arjen angry. When alone with Riolu, he asks him about the document he signed and informs him that the Duke was imprisoned for treason, meaning that if the Imperial family finds it, he's dead as well. Riolu reassures him that they will not find the signed paper and that everything will proceed as planned, making the Count feel relieved. Meanwhile, Jason is being treated again by our best boy Alex, and his guardian is now ready to see his masters. Riolu visits the prison where Duke Rosea is held and convinces the guards that he will deliver food for the Duke. After some not-so-thorough inspection, the guards let him in. And when he's inside, he tells the Duke a cryptic message and asks him to be careful while eating. The Duke smirks, expecting the scroll inside the pie. It's the day for the twins to leave for Delornina Castle. When all the preparations are done, everyone waits for them except for the second prince, who has overdone his powers again. The two princes express their affection while the Emperor remains silent, which the twins expect from him. Aiji will be guarding them on their way to the castle with Kahlua, since the Crown Prince is being chained up by his duties. And as they are about to leave, they find the Emperor in the back looking glum and turning away. Has communication never been taught in the royal school? Gosh. Anyway, Aiji instructs Kahlua to stay on top of the carriage to watch over the twins, and he will follow from behind. Kahlua follows the order and flies when Aiji sees Riolu walking. Aiji tries to call him, but he runs away looking so suspicious. After following Riolu into the woods, Aiji discovers the scar, but is too late to prevent Riolu from poisoning him. Riolu, you have just betrayed the twins and me! Aiji falls down, but is able to call Kahlua before he collapses. Kahlua quickly answers his master's call and leaves the twins' carriage with the guards. The guards are, well, caught off guard by the black fog, knocking them and their horses to the ground. Arienne hears outside, while Ashina feels something strange is happening. Two hooded men grab the twins. Ashina follows them enraged and demands to let them go, but one of them kicks her and she falls. How dare you! The twins, powerless to defend themselves, insult the attackers before being choked to death. Jason appears to rescue the twins, finally! He then unleashes his wind powers, ready to protect his babies. Meanwhile, after hearing a knock on his window, the second prince looks out to see Kahlua carrying Eiji. Kahlua is worried and asks for help. He believes that Eiji was poisoned. The second prince declares that he would personally treat his brother because he doesn't want anyone to know that an imperial family member has been hurt. They should always be strong in the eyes of their people, and hopes that Jason will protect the twins. Jason disperses the fog and tells Ashina that they must return to the palace to protect the twins. But she wonders how, since all the horses have collapsed. Jason claims to have the power to move all of them, but as he prepares to do so, an unknown man appears from behind and stabs Jason in the back, causing the twins and Ashina to scream in terror. Duke Rosea simply cannot let them go. Jason collapsed to his knees after the Duke stabs him, while Arienne is so confused as to why the Duke is assaulting them, until she discovers he is one of the assailants. Ashina's fears have come true. She knows the Duke is up to something again this time. After Ashina saw the Duke try to force himself on the late Empress Ilona, they've never been on good terms. He loved the Empress, but she rejected his advances with a slap, and Ashina witnessed it all. She's the one who helped the late Empress and even warned the Duke. As the Duke raises his sword, trying to kill Ashina, Arienne, who's trembling in fear, tries to stand in his way. The Duke's men capture the twins and force them to smell a handkerchief, which causes them to pass out. Meanwhile, the Crown Prince has not found any clear evidence that the Duke truly committed treason. When he arrives at the Second Prince Castle, he is greeted by a dying-looking Alex. He in no way used so much power to heal Eiji, and if not for his royal blood, the poison may have easily killed him. This makes their decision more serious. Kahlua then shares that just before Eiji passed out, he told them about being tricked by a man with a scar on his face, most likely the same figure the Crown Prince saw before. The Crown Prince orders Kahlua to find the location of the twins, while he goes after the man who tried to poison Eiji and orders Alex to stay. Their father has left the palace, and because nothing is certain, they decide not to bother him. Arienne wakes up later than Arjen, and instead of worrying about herself, her first concern goes to her twin, then to Jason and Ashina. When they hear the Duke has killed the two, the twins start to tremble in shock and start blaming themselves, thinking that they should not have gotten close to anyone. He points his sword towards Arjen, stating that their deaths will benefit the Empire, but the time is not yet ripe. He announces that he plans to display their bodies in the capital's plaza, where most people gather, and that is where he will expose the Emperor's secret of having illegitimate children. It will shatter the people's faith that illness or death cannot touch the imperial family, and no one will even question him since they have golden hair. Then the authority of the imperial family will also be weakened as the rumors spread, and all this for the sake of his revenge on the Emperor. This guy needs therapy. He wants to witness the look of despair on his face when he learns of their deaths, since the Emperor really loves them, which is the opposite of what the twins are feeling. There is no way that the Emperor treasures them, or so they believe. Upon searching for the scarred man, the Crown Prince discovers that the Duke has fled using a teleportation scroll handed to him by Riolu. He then shuts off Rosea's estate and launches a manhunt for him. Meanwhile, Jason, who is carrying Ashina, appears before the Emperor. Both of them are still alive but critically wounded, and so the Emperor realizes instantly that his children are in danger. Jason explains that after regaining his senses, the only person he saw was Ashina. The Emperor is so mad that he doesn't understand why he couldn't protect the twins, then learns that Jason's power is so weak because the twins don't feel even a little bit of pride about being royal. The Emperor lets him go, calling medics to heal them, while Jason shares that before Ashina lost consciousness, she was able to reveal the name of the Duke. Excellent job till the end, Ashina. Just as the Emperor is about to leave, he unexpectedly apologizes, telling Jason that he is at fault since he should have fostered pride in the twins. and then Jason would have been able to save them. Yup, best at worst communication goes to you, Emperor, but there is still room for growth, so go save your twins. Back to the twins, Duke Rosea leaves them for a while in the hands of the attackers, making escape much more difficult. They start insulting them, and the twins become quite bored hearing the same old pattern, so they start to insult them back. The poor lad's pride is hurting, and they begin to threaten the twins with bloodthirst magic. Gosh, they can't even take a child's insult? Meanwhile, the Crown Prince is interrogating the young Rosea when the Emperor arrives. The Emperor learns that the Duke indeed escaped prison, confirming the suspicions, and begins threatening the young Rosea, demanding to know where his twins could have been taken captive. But before answering, the smart kid proposes a deal. If his leads can manage to save the twins, the Emperor should spare his family. He assures the Emperor that because of him, they will be able to save the twins. The assailants are arguing, but the other really wants the twins to beg. But the two are already willing to die rather than cooperate with him, since they believe no one will cry for them. Then their thoughts turn to Riolu, who they believe is also working for the Duke. In the end, they have no one they can trust, and the two people they relied on are no longer there. The man in black is becoming irritating, so the twins, whose hearts have hardened once again, let him know that they are not afraid of death and will never surrender to the likes of him. He begins to get angry and throws a bloodthirst to the two, but luckily, the magic Alex placed in them has protected them. The radiance rises up to the sky, where it can be seen by everyone on the continent. The Duke purchases a powerful black magic scroll and notices that the light is coming from the direction where he locked up the twins, so he rushes back. While the Crown Prince and the Emperor discover the same thing and realize it was Alex's protection magic, so the twins are still safe. Kahlua, who is trying to make up for leaving the twins behind, quickly arrives before them to fly them where the light is. Let's go! Time to beat the Duke! The twins take advantage of the attacker's temporary blindness and try to flee, but are quickly recaptured. The attacker is becoming increasingly violent, but thankfully, someone comes to their aid. And to their surprise, it's Riolu. Riolu quickly unties them, but the twins are still doubting his actions until Riolu's expression appears to be regretful, and he even mentions that he is glad they are safe. However, now's not the time to reconcile, since the two men awaken from the hit. Riolu plans to distract them while the twins can go ahead and escape first. And to convince the twins that he is on their side, he tells them that he is actually trying to save his father by helping them. He joins forces with the young Rosea because they both know the Duke's plot will fail, and that the only way to keep their family from being severely punished for their connection with the Duke is to save them. So this is why young Rosea proposes the deal. Riolu defends as the two men begin to attack. He is strong, but not powerful enough to take on two men, so he gets knocked to the ground. While the attacker keeps harassing Riolu, the other one turns his attention to the helpless twins and is about to touch them when the wall cracks open. The attackers tremble at the sight of the furious Emperor. Never in their wildest dreams did Arienne and Arjen imagine the Emperor would come to their rescue. In his rage, the Emperor unleashes a torrent of mana, ready to beat the hell out of them for messing with his children. Finally, father to the rescue! The assailants have a hard time believing that the Emperor himself has come to save the illegitimate children, as they call them. The Emperor tells them, as if speaking to the twins, that they did not kidnap any illegitimate children, but rather the Empire's prince and princess. To top it off, the way he proudly refers to them as his children confuses the twins. The attackers, who are now desperate to live, grab the twins and take them as hostages. The other one is releasing a bloodthirst to threaten the kids, but Riolu sneaks from behind and kicks the attacker, giving the Emperor the chance to grab his children using his powers and gently carry them. The Emperor looks at them with so much love and checks their condition before covering their eyes with magic. With one hand, the Emperor unleashes a powerful magic that brings the two attackers to their knees in fear and is now begging for mercy. Who said you fools were allowed to talk? The Emperor shows no mercy, and the attackers can only cry out in anguish. That's what you get for hurting our babies. Meanwhile, Lloyd and Kahlua are outside the mansion, witnessing the Emperor's great power being unleashed. As far as the Crown Prince knows, the Emperor has refrained from using his power since it is so strong. But the kidnappers deserve it this time. The two are still confused as to why the Duke chose the Empress's old estate as his hiding place. The Emperor's power burns the attackers to ashes. I'm expecting some groaning and bleeding, but turning them to ashes proves how powerful the Emperor is. He then directs his attention to Riolu, and Arjen informs him that he is the Duke's subordinate, causing the Emperor to unleash another round of his tremendous power. But Arienne suddenly confirms that Riolu tries to save them and is not a bad guy. And look who finally shows up. The Duke. He looks so sure of himself that he could beat our Emperor right here. The Emperor makes the Duke drop to his knees with ease. And for the last time, he shows the Duke mercy in light of his relationship with his wife and tells him to return to the Imperial City obediently. The Duke won't stop blaming the Emperor for the death of Empress Ilona, and the twins are listening quietly as the Emperor tries to clear things up. Ilona was terminally ill with only 3 years to live, so he transferred his guardian to prolong her life. But this did not prevent her death. The Duke fires back, claiming Ilona should have been his wife if the Emperor hadn't stolen her, as though he's certain she'd choose him. His obsession is making him crazy. The Duke continues to attack the Emperor by accusing him of having a mistress. The scroll has the effect of destroying someone's mental state, turning the Duke's hair white and leaving him forever incapacitated. Riolu coughs up blood, causing the twins to worry and rush over to see if he's okay. The Emperor knows that this is because of the boomerang effect of the bloodthirst scroll he used. Seeing the twins' troubled faces, he orders Lloyd to bring Duke Rosea and Riolu back to the palace for medication. Kahlua still can't stand Riolu for hurting Ieiji, while the Crown Prince warns him to prepare for punishment for hurting the third prince, which Riolu accepts. However, he begs the Emperor to spare the Rosea estate. And soon, the Emperor figures out that he is the trump card the young Rosea is so sure of. The Emperor agrees with Riolu since he sacrifices himself to protect the twins, and he will lessen their punishment. Riolu apologizes to the twins for putting them in danger and becoming jealous of their happiness, and realizes he made himself believe that illegitimate children are destined to be miserable. The twins accept his apology, and with a smile, they wish him happiness. Finally, the case is now closed, and the twins are left with the Emperor. The Emperor is aware that the twins are in pain being with him and decides to help them be free. This time, he calls them as his children directly and promises to never abandon them again. The twins still believe he should not be forgiven, but his words, just like the sunset behind them, are so warm that they can't hold back their tears while the Emperor rushes to hug them. This is the first time they have ever had such a warm hug. The Emperor is prepared to hear anything they have to say. Arienne breaks down in tears, confesses how she hates the Delernina castle, and begs him not to send them there. The Emperor realizes how inconsiderate he is for not thinking about their suffering and embraces them once more. The twins, who have kept their emotions buried for a long time, are finally letting their feelings out and expressing their hatred for him. The twins can feel the Emperor start to tremble while he tells them how deeply sorry he is and expresses how he actually wants them to stay with him. And after a while of crying, the twins fall asleep in their father's arms. At last, they have communicated. Who's cutting onions here? Meanwhile, the Crown Prince delivers the Duke to his estate and informs young Rosea of their punishment. The Duke will be under lifelong house arrest. Assets except for their mansion will be confiscated, and he will be banished for 10 years. The young master accepts, not looking surprised since he already foresaw his father's fate for rebelling against the imperial family, adding that he is merely grateful to be able to retain their household and stay alive, but is actually amazed at how light the punishment is, believing it is all because of Riolu. When the twins wake up, their father is the first person to greet them. They feel awkward around him because of all the crying they did, while the Emperor tells them that their day will be quite busy bringing them back to reality, remembering Jason and Ashina. They first visit the second prince's palace, and to their surprise, they see our ever-strict and loving Ashina. They run to her crying, grateful that she is alive, and they later learn that Jason is alive as well. And before Ashina returns to her hometown to recover, she leaves a heartwarming message to the twins, wishes them pride in their imperial lineage, and hopes for nothing but their happiness. Aww, a mother they never had. While Aoji is in Alex's mansion, he can't bring himself to show up in front of his siblings. Kahlua comes up to him and reminds him not to dwell in the past, which makes Aoji more determined to become stronger, enough to protect the twins. After their first meeting, the Emperor carries his babies to their next appointment. They are now having snacks, and the two can't believe that this is what the Emperor means by saying they'll be busy. They discuss the renovation of their room. However, while they listen, Arienne interrupts, saying the design is too much and they could just play outside. The Emperor did not pay attention entirely, but the way she calls him formally, he wants them to call him father, which the twins flatly decline. LOL, emotional damage. Well, still a long way to go. Anyway, the Emperor agrees with their opinions and quickly orders that magicians remodel their room. The twins are curious about the magicians, and the Emperor, who is becoming more attentive to them, notices this and invites them to see them. They didn't even once shut their mouth since they find magic so intriguing, and the Emperor is proud to tell them that their magic construction crew can complete a room in a day. After that, they visit a newly built Delornina castle and find it completely different from when they lived there. They are confused why their father brings them to the place that traumatized them and learns that he plans to destroy it in front of them. But before doing that, the Emperor will tell them all about their mother. Finally, the revelation that we are all waiting for. One night, Ruahel entered the Emperor's room, informing him that she was bearing his children, which he could never believe since they had never spent a night together. But to his surprise, Ruahel reveals that she's not a human, but a Habi. Remember the time she licks the Emperor's wounded hand to prove her healing magic? She was able to keep the blood in her body, sharing that a Habi can get pregnant with only the blood of another. The Emperor can't even kill her since a Habi can also connect their hearts to another only once. The twins question why he never reveals the truth, and the Emperor questions them back if they would believe that their mother was a Habi, who is known to have been extinct for 50,000 years. They cannot answer, and then Arjen wonders why he's still alive if his life is linked to Ruahel's. The Emperor explains that Ruahel lost her Habi powers after giving birth to them, which is why she kept abusing our poor babies, putting the blame on them. The Emperor thinks this is why Ruahel has avoided communicating with him. She doesn't want him to learn about her lost power. And because kids with mixed blood rarely live past the age of 5, when Ruahel stopped contacting him, he assumed they were dead and wasn't strong enough to visit the graves. Ruahel wanted the seat of the Empress, which the Emperor refused to give up, even if it meant his death. She then resorts to having the Delornina castle and authority to the twins. At first, the Emperor had no interest in the twins, but this changed when he held them in his hands. So when he hears the news that Ruahel is dead and they are alive, he promises himself to make them happy, but he is still lacking as a father and kneels in front of the castle asking for their forgiveness. The twins are still not sure if they can completely forgive him, so for now, they request that he tear the ugly castle down. They say goodbye to their past and go back to the Imperial Palace to be greeted by their loving brothers. The moment is cut short when the twins receive a request from Riolu to see them, but this time, the Emperor and their brothers will come with them. The twins are happy to see Riolu looking great with his new haircut. New hair, new life. The entire Imperial family enters the chamber looking scary. The twins are worried about the third prince seeking revenge on Riolu, who is now on his knees apologizing to him. He is willing to accept any punishment from the third prince, including death. But to their astonishment, Aoji merely tells him that he lost because he is weak, and that saving his siblings is enough for him. Riolu will be banished for some time and is tasked with investigating towns. He expresses gratitude to the Crown Prince for giving them a chance to atone, and young Rosé remarks that no other empire will show mercy for such crimes, except the Imperial family. Well, Lloyd points out that they are still too young, while the Emperor adds that no child should bear their parents' sins. All the other nobles will be punished as well, with the exception of Count Clone, who has been removed from the anti-imperial list as part of his deal with Riolu. Young Rosea apologizes to the twins and claims he wants to be friends, but actually has many hidden agendas, thinking he can use the twins in the future. However, our babies are not easily swayed and coldly tell him that if he wants forgiveness, he should be at least on his knees. He unwillingly kneels, but they know it is all an act. But for Arienne, Hearing that he wants to be friends makes her happy. Surprise him and making him blush. Their brothers and the Emperor's overprotectiveness tingle and declares that he will be eternally banished to a foreign country instead, confusing the young ones. The twins, Eiji, and the Crown Prince all visit the new garden and are astounded by how quickly the magicians built it. Arienne sneezes as they're all conversing, and the Crown Prince responds unexpectedly. They all panic and swear that they need to visit a doctor right away. The doctor informs them that Arienne has a floral allergy called balion, but instead of believing the doctor, they are outraged with the outcome, informing him that it's impossible for an Imperial member to have allergies. The Emperor rushes into the room, snatches his baby from Lloyd, and learns that she has an allergy. He orders the Congress doctors to re-examine her. While Arienne is confused as to why having an allergy is such a huge deal, she endures all the medical tests, and the results are the same. The Emperor believes she is young and frail, so he tells the Crown Prince to get something, and seconds later, he arrives with a holy fruit to boost their immunity, which he slices and gives to the twins. The next day in class, Arjen uses telepathy to say it's weird she got sick because they'd never gotten sick before, despite all of the abuse, when suddenly, Eiji interrupts their class and says he has something to show them. Eiji excitedly carries the twins and jumps through the window, where the green hawk catches them. He introduces his guardian, Killua the hawk, and tells them that this is the ride he promised before. Arjen then asks Arienne if she feels anything and says his heart is racing, making Eiji worry. Killua understands what's happening to him, and the reason why Arjen's heart beats so fast when he thinks about guardians is because of his instinct. He can feel their guardian. It astounds him to learn that they too have their own guardian. Arjen wonders where their guardian is and why he hasn't come to see them, but Killua suggests that they will have to figure it out on their own and just need to be more confident. But ends up giving them hints, saying their guardian is related to the wind. Then the red-haired man immediately comes to Arienne's thoughts. They should feel the wind and figure out what they truly desire. After that, they go to the second prince's castle and are surprised to see a celestial dome Alex created. They are enjoying it when Eiji apologizes for not being able to help them when they needed him, expresses his desire to be closer to them, and promises to protect them. The first time they really get a sense of how sincere their brother is. While they are still talking, the celestial dome suddenly vanishes, and the second prince enters to inform Eiji that their father is searching for him, after hearing that he had dragged the twins out of class. Eiji explains that he wants to show the place to them, but he ends up following the second prince anyway, leading the twins to conclude that the second prince is tough. The twins observe that the second prince doesn't seem well and seems exhausted. He tells them that he will get an escort for them because he's busy and leaves first. They sneak into Alex's room, approach him, and notice his fever-red face. Arienne notices that he has no servants to assist him now that he is ill. Arienne informs Arjen that they will soak a towel for their brother because they owe him a lot and have never thanked him. They give it their all and use their teeny bodies to put together a damp towel, and Arienne applies it to his forehead and waits for his fever to subside. They are exhausted and decide to relax next to the bed, but Arjen falls asleep first. Alex's guardian appears while they are sleeping and thinks they are cute playing nurse to their brother. Alex wakes up to a moist towel on his forehead and two toddlers sleeping near his bed, while Niue teases him as he blushes. Then, the Emperor appears to pick up the twins. Alex is all better now that his cute siblings have taken care of him. That evening, Arienne and Arjen awaken in the Emperor's room and are presented with lemon water. They know that everyone else in the Imperial family never gets sick, so Arjen wonders why the second prince is not feeling well. Then, the Emperor clarifies that Alex is not sick. He is the best healer, and there's no illness Alex can't cure. My best boy. But there's a downside to his powers. In order for him to find a cure for unknown diseases and poisons, he has to consume them himself. And 2 days ago, an epidemic spread, which is why his body is drained. This power is the Guardian's ability, and Arienne realizes how much Arjen enjoys talking about Guardians. The Emperor notices that they still keep addressing everyone formally, so he takes this chance to get them to call him father. He's really thinking about it, and he doesn't like how distant it sounds, so he suggests shyly that they call him dad instead. And out of nowhere, Arjen calls him Dad, shocking Arienne. Arjen keeps calling him Dad, but it looks like the Emperor is malfunctioning. The two have perfected the art of cuteness and adorably beg their dad to let them go outside the palace. The next day, the three of them leave for a trip, leaving the three brothers behind, especially AEG, who insists on joining them, but the Emperor really wants to spend quality time with his twins alone. Meanwhile, Niue visits Jason, who is in his red wolf form, looking much better but still healing from the stab he got. The three are still on their way, but the twins are already enjoying the lively town sights. They look at children playing and marvel at how carefree they appear. After a while, they reach the house of Marquess Basen, where they will spend the night because their villa is still far away. The Marquess cheerfully greets the twins and introduces them to the rest of his family, whom they find kind. But the twins decide not to trust them, particularly the child, who appears discontent with them. They are prepared separate rooms for them, but the Emperor declines and informs them that his children will be sleeping with him, making the twins feel so content. While they are having dinner, the Marquess offers that the twins play with his sons their age, which the Emperor agrees to, but the twins don't like the idea. They have no choice and are thrown into the playroom. The twins find the older brother to be nice, but the problem is the younger one, who has the audacity to insult them once more with the phrase, illegitimate children. Wedlin's older brother interrupts him and begins to apologize to the twins. Since Arienne is so used to it, she doesn't mind, but Arjen does. He responds by grabbing the kid and calling him stupid before instructing him to be courteous to the prince and princess. Despite the fact that Wedlin is older and taller than him, Arjen refused to let go of him by the collar. The older brother interrupts, concerned that this may damage their family name, and Wedlin realizes this and runs away. Arjen wants Arienne to understand now that they have a family who cares and worries for them, and he promises he won't let anyone insult their blood anymore. When the Emperor shows up, the cunning Arjen asks his dad if being an illegitimate child is terrible, enough for the Emperor to realize what happened. He becomes so upset that the Marquess and his children fall to their knees trembling. The Emperor gives them a warning and walks away with the twins. This will teach Wedlin a lesson. The next day before they leave, Wedlin asks for the twins' forgiveness, but Arjen is very stern and walks away. While Arienne advises Wedlin to not simply look at the individual's title, especially the word illegitimate children, but to thoroughly know the person in front of him, and adds smilingly that they should not say hurtful things to one another, while Wedlin finds her pretty. The father senses a tingling, and he quickly grabs his precious daughter away from the blushing kid. Our baby girl is unconsciously winning everyone's heart. They arrive at the villa and are about to enter when the wind from the forest catches their attention and they hear someone welcome them. They became quite curious, and the Emperor informed them that there's a large lake in the forest. While they are eating, the Emperor announces that he will be unable to tour them since he has work to complete, so they can do anything freely. Arjen begs if they can go out to the lake, and Arienne backs him up, explaining that they will bring knights and maids to keep them safe. But they are confused when their overprotective father swiftly agrees that they can go alone. We know why. Oh, can't wait. As the two stroll through the forest, they can't help but feel glad for what they have now. They aren't starving anymore, and they have a family to call their own. They feel so free. When they reach the end of the path, they discover a lake with a massive wolf lying in it. Arienne wants to run away, but Arjen senses something, and Jason's voice echoes, explaining it is their thirst for their guardian. Jason then appears before them and shrinks to a smaller version of himself, which is, by the way, so cute, and finally proudly greets his masters. He kneels, introducing himself as the Wolf of the Red Wind, Jason, their own guardian. The twins discover that their royal pride and yearning for freedom are the only things that can wake Jason up. Jason wishes to surprise their father and believes that the best way to do so is to ride on him. Arienne then notices how joyful Arjen appears, as if he has been waiting for this moment. When they arrive, the Emperor, as expected, is envious of Jason's closeness to his children, but he is delighted and proud that they can now summon their own guardian. Later that night, Jason thanks the Emperor for visiting the villa with his masters. But what bothers him is Arienne, whose imperial abilities are weaker than Arjen's, and even her reaction to the guardian is faint. The Emperor believes that this is because Arienne has thicker Habi blood, while Arjen has thicker Imperial blood. But it doesn't matter. She's still his only daughter. The Emperor shares that they will hold a luxurious banquet when they return, since there are still nobles who are hostile to them. He thinks it is time for his twins to stand tall as Prince and Princess of the Imperial family. When they get home, they smell the flowery perfume that can only be detected after manifestation. And the Emperor figures out it is Eiji. He then orders the butler to organize a banquet in a month to finally present the twins to the world, which the twins appear to be happy with. Also, he orders another banquet as a celebration for Eiji. The twins are so curious about how much their brother has changed after his manifestation that they decide to visit him. So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!